Tax Calc 19 Maintenance Buyout Calculator. So in the Tax Calc 19 program, if you go under the Tools button, you will see the Maintenance Buyout Calculator. It's really the first one. It's a pretty common calculator that's used to try and calculate the lump sum or upfront payment of cash or assets in lieu of an ongoing maintenance stream. So really it's just a tool to help you try to quantify that a little bit better than just simply doing straight math. If your monthly payment was $500 a month, instead of just adding up each payment, this allows you to kind of make some discounts for really the probability of death, probability of interest, and kind of the value of money over time, and obviously based on what you're awarding, if there may be a tax discount or a tax consideration. So really what this calculator is, everything in yellow are inputs for the user to input. So you obviously put in the name and date of birth of the person who's paying and receiving. Again, that helps us run more accurate mortality discounts. You put in the present value date, so if we're doing the value as of today, but the payments don't start until 7/1, and then you'd enter in the monthly payment. So let's say it's $2,500, which we anticipate to be paid for 4 years. You can put that in there, $2,500 over 48 months. Going further, you'll see there's an interest rate discount. By default, it's simply just in there at 4%. That does not mean, it's not a suggestion, it's not meaning what it should be. I do think you want to tie an interest rate that's, let's say, a conservative rate for what the expected rate of return on a lump sum would be over the period of time that you're considering. So what would someone reasonably be able to earn on their money over 48 months time? I think those interest rates tend to be pretty low. I know they are increasing, but it should be a case-to-case calculation, not necessarily a default or using the default. There is a default 4% in there though. And I would say, again, that's something that you want to adjust and look at specific to each case. Right now there is a 0%, the default is a 0% for tax discount. The reason for that is we're now with 2019, you having non-deductible maintenance paid and received. The person receiving maintenance doesn't have to pay tax on it, so usually we're not going to discount the actual payment here for taxes. So ultimately when we look at this, we're looking at a calculation of a cash payment from one spouse to another. If we wanted to buy out $2,500 a month for 4 years, some of the assumptions are applied. First, it would be a remarriage assumption. Right now, I've defaulted that to not being applied. If you click on this and toggle it to yes, you'll see that there is a discount or a reduction for the probability of remarriage. Remarriage obviously would end a maintenance term, so if you have concerns about that or want to build that risk in, there is a calculator here that tries to quantify the probabilities for remarriage. Personally, I don't think they're very great data. It's based on regular remarriage statistics, not based on remarriage when people are receiving maintenance. So I think there is a disincentive to remarry, and these data or the underlying calculations do not reflect that. So sometimes I think they over discount. Ultimately, it's something that I don't often use, but it does, again, depend on the case. It depends on the likelihood. It depends on the risk factors that you want to include. So if you just simply added up $2,500 for 48 months, you'd get $120,000. There's a probability of death of either party. You see a very small probability. That's why the discount is quite low. These parties are 48, so this is calculating the probability that someone dies between 48.5 and what is that, 52.5. So the probability, again, being pretty low. The biggest discount usually is for that interest rate, so that's what's being added in here. Ultimately, what that's saying is if you had $110,000 and you earned 4% over 48 years or 48 months, sorry, you would grow to that 119 and be able to pay out this $2,500 a month. So it's really just talking about the value of money over that period of time and appropriately discounting it back to a present value. And then finally, again, a discount for taxes. If you are paying in a form of a pre-tax asset or something like that, you may want to discount it. So when looking at the cash value is something different than looking at the value of a 401k or an IRA. So understand how it's being paid, and then you can relate that again to what amount or what's actually being awarded here. Again, this is simply a tool. There's many different ways you can use it. You can turn these all on. You can turn them all off. You can build different tiers. So if you have a scenario where you were, pay, 48 months of 2,500, and then it's going to drop down to 2,000 for 48 months, and then 1,000 for 48 months. You can build different tiers of maintenance. Let's say you had this scenario, but you really only wanted to buy out the last 4 years. You could simply make these payments 0 for the first 48, the second 48, and then just buy out the third period. Obviously, the tax and the interest going all the way out to that point is going to be higher in that scenario. So you can kind of do these future projections. You can do some creative calculations to buy out the front part or the back half or whatever it is when you're looking at different maintenance buyout calculations. Again, I can't stress enough, this is simply a tool. It's just used to give you a better idea of what a fair trade for a lump sum today for an ongoing maintenance obligation. It gives you a better ability to kind of calculate what that fair or calculate fair lump sum calculation would be. So this is there. It's under the tools section. It's called the maintenance buyout calculator. This is also available as a standalone calculator in the free tools section of my website.